I'm Diego Cordovez with Adam Schoenfeld. Welcome to The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Now, Adam, you've had a big week. You finished 17th in the tournament on
Sunday
Full
Mulligan.
Tilt. You
Fifth
had
in
an
the
excellent
160 in the 65K guarantee.
and excellent Taco Bell meal you picked up last night. And
Crunchy Taco Supreme.
now, in contrast, David Singer, he won the tournament on Full Tilt Poker, which had a $25,000 entry fee.
It's a smallish.
A heads up.
Yeah.
He won a bracelet in
Pot
Pot
Limit.
Limit Hold'em, and he had a child born. All in the span of like a week.
And the last implies doing something that I haven't done either.
I mean, in all seriousness, it's just not this week. Over the last couple of years, David Singer's really come on like a steamroller. I remember he's been playing for a while, grinding in stud games primarily. He's from the East Coast.
Good player. I thought he was a grinder. Now,
I thought he was a very good player.
Superstar.
But he's become a superstar and slightly under the radar. But I think all pros know that he's legit in all the games. He's made the final table of the 50K horse both years, and he's won no limit tournaments. He won the big WPT at Caesars. I mean, he's something else.
a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and he's not shy about his opinions
No.
either. I don't know where to begin with all your recent triumphs, because you just won a bracelet in Pot Limit Hold'em. Back to back, you made the final table of the 50K horse, which I think is one of the most impressive achievements, and also just fascinating because of the nature of the tournament. But even surpassing those, you just won the $25,000 buy-in heads up on Full Tilt, which the idea of a $25,000 entry tournament online is so phenomenal.
And with one of the toughest fields,
And with
if not the toughest field in tournament history.
I mean, you're known for knowing all the games and not particularly as a heads-up player, but what went into that tournament, and what were you doing that worked?
Well, I actually won in 2006. I won a heads-up tournament against a decent amount of the best players in poker at the Mirage. It was a $7,500 buy-in. But with that one, I actually had a lot of pressure on me to win going into the final day because while I was upstairs in my son's room playing on the computer, there was already a party going on in my house. So I felt like it would be quite a letdown to come down to the party and lose, so I had to win. We had my fiance, who just gave birth, and I had gone to Lamaze.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, what a week.
Yeah, pretty good week.
It's almost just crazy.
We'd gone to the Lamaze class, and it ended like the week before, so I suggested we have a Lamaze graduation party just to get to know the people. We don't know that many people with kids. So she kind of didn't feel that good about hosting people. She's a little shy. So I talked her into it. I told her it would be a good idea. So when I signed up for the Full Tilt tournament, I didn't know it was a 2-day tournament. It started on Saturday.
By the way, women love that if you make them throw a party and then you're going to be playing internet poker
Right.
during it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I look like a total degenerate.
They don't like it
Over.
when I play the Sunday tournament at 3
Right.
o'clock, much less
Right.
something like this.
So we had a party starting at my house at 2 in the afternoon, and I hadn't known it when I signed up, but the final 2 rounds of the heads-up tournament was on Sunday, starting at 1. So when people came over, she was hosting by herself a party she was
At that
worried
point,
about even having.
You have to win.
Yeah.
I have to win.
Right. That's the only way to get out.
It's the only way to justify
Yeah,
it.
so it was pretty funny. And actually, I almost didn't play, too, because I had a feeling she was going to go into labor that day, and I told her I wasn't playing at one point.
That'd have been
Then
bad
she
news
talked
if
me into it. So.
she's in labor and you're playing, and somebody else has to go over and
Yeah, I
keep
would
her
have
company.
had to quit pretty much. I actually said at the final table of the pot limit, where I just won the bracelet, that if she went into labor, I was going to quit, even if I was heads up for the bracelet, and I was going to. And actually, Nolan Dalla got wind of that, the media director for the World Series, and he told me he thought I'd get on board with this. He told me before the tournament started, or before the final table started, I hope you get all the chip, or I hope you get the chip lead, and then you have to leave, because that'll be a big story, like worldwide. He said
It
he
would
was
be really.
exaggerating.
I mean, that's
Well,
what.
he wanted me to agree, like that was a great thing.
But it's one of those things where even though you would lose there, I think it really would be a story that.
Yeah, it'd be a
you
story,
could
but not the
water
kind of story I wanted.
Right. Leave the bracelet
See,
anyway.
if I were your opponent in that situation, I would agree to continue the next day or something. It'd be interesting
Oh
if the
no!
other guy.
Oh no! I will be raising every hand.
Well, I actually did something pretty dumb strategically. Usually I like to take breaks. I like to go to dinner, but for the final tables, there's no dinner break scheduled. And we had played for a couple hours heads up. We were both hungry, and he wanted to go to dinner. And I agreed to go to dinner, and then after I agreed, I realized it's probably not that smart because her due date was the next day. So she could have gone,
Yeah.
made it more likely she'd go into the labor before we finished.
What's interesting to me about the 25K heads up is that now poker's grown so huge that you really have to know how to play against bad players or inexperienced players. That's a big part of the game because especially in the big tournaments, for a while, your table's going to be comprised of less experienced players. But in this tournament, you're playing, like, by definition, really good players almost entirely from beginning to end. So it's a whole different games.
Yeah, I consider a strong part of my game watching people and figuring out how they play, even on the internet. I like to say I play kind of like Bruce Lee used to talk about what kind of style of martial arts he practiced, and he said the highest style is to have no style. He'd say be water because water can go in a teacup, water can crash. And I try and play no limit like that. That I don't have a style that I want to have. Mm-hmm. I try and read what your style is and adjust to it, and
especially
and
heads
take
up.
advantage of it.
Especially
heads
that's the
up.
whole game.
Run through who some of your opponents were in the heads.
Well, actually, I didn't have too many well-known opponents. The toughest opponent I thought was the first guy I played. I don't know his real name, but he's on
What was
Full Tilt.
his screen name?
He's OMG Clay Aiken.
Oh yeah, that's Phil Galfond.
Right.
I know who that is.
Yeah,
that's Phil Galfond.
I guess he's one of the biggest winners in the no limit cash games.
He's
on
won
there.
a ton,
He's one of the
he's won a ton
toughest.
online. And he was briefly on high stakes poker, although he didn't really have a chance to do a whole lot.
Oh,
But
really? Where is he from? He's from the United States?
Yeah, he's from the East Coast, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's from the Midwest, but
Oh, is he? Yeah. Good.
He was pretty tough. Some of the guys came out, some of them aren't well known. I played Brian Hastings, who's a pro in Full Tilt too, who I've never met. And
Cornell man.
yeah, he's a Cornell man, much like myself.
I played a guy that I played that was down to the final couple tables in the pot limit the other day. I don't know his name though. He's got red hair, Scott, and his name on Full Tilt is Master Blaster. He just told me the other day that I played against him. Scott. His last name starts with an S. I should know his name.
So you didn't know who any of these guys were?
No, most of them. Brian Hastings, I played a little bit of 8 or better stud with on Full Tilt before.
Brian Hastings is one of the principals of Card Runners, which is the training site.
I knew that, but I don't know anything about his play. But a lot of these guys that I played, they're young, sort of successful internet pros.
Right. Definitely
And
those
one
guys.
thing most of them did was they came out firing away, like they're just going to blow me away on every hand. And
Right.
I love that when someone does that, especially if they're not mixing it up. Any decent thinking person can take advantage of that.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I read some of the message boards, and these guys it's undisputed that these are great players who've had tremendous success. But the one thing that they almost all have in common when they're super young and they've had that kind of success is that they don't give anyone that they perceive as a brick and mortar pro, and that's the way they perceive you, they don't give you any credit. So yeah, they just thought they were going to run you over, and they had to find out.
Against 2 of them, they lost at least half their chips on the first 3 hands.
Right. Where the blinds are tiny.
Yeah, because they're just firing away, And
Did you end up
like I
having
said-
hands, or you just took it away from them?
a mix of both. One of them I had 2 hands right away, and of course, he went off for a decent amount of money or a decent amount of chips. But any decent pro, any of us sitting here, if I'm going to play one style,
Right.
it's
because
to your advantage. Just
It's kind of interesting because there's kind of a limited community of guys online who play the really high stakes, and they've played millions, literally probably millions of hands against each other. In this situation, I like it because they hadn't played a lot with you, and you hadn't played a lot with them. So they need to size you up pretty quickly. You need to size them up pretty quickly. And it sounds like maybe they came in not even bothering to size you up, just kind of playing a certain style.
I think so.
And
Now
you
I
were
got
more
lucky
focused on
in one big hand against, I think it was against Brian Hastings, but I think I made it. I think I played the hand correctly, with what was going on at the table. That's just how poker goes sometimes.
How did the action
Sometimes
come
your
down?
read is off. I can't even remember. It was like 4-bet before the flop, and he had 8s and I had 5s, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the way the game was playing, that he was being overly aggressive, and he didn't have to have that big a hand there. And it was the same kind of situation. The hand I won on, the guy White Lime is his online name, who I beat.
Emil Patel.
We got a lot of money before the flop. I had 8s and he had 3-10. Same kind of
Right.
thing. So that confirms me. I was doing the right thing in the other situation too,
Yeah.
even though it ended up I got the money in bed and I did get lucky. But I think I played extraordinarily well, not to be immodest. And
It's okay to be modest. I'm sure you did.
I think I played really, really well, and a lot of people who watched a lot of it online thought I played really well. But I don't usually read 2+2, but someone was telling me to go in there and read it. And there were comments, I guess so did the online players, root for other online players.
course,
so there were
yeah.
comments like, if Singer wins, I'll die, and
Have there been any deaths?
Yeah, none reported yet. But that's what I'm talking about. I mean, that's a blind spot that some of these kids have, where they just can't give anyone who's not a known internet superstar any credit for being able to play, and that's a problem. That's a leak they have.
yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a big, it can be a big downfall for any of them.
I'm fascinated by your results in the 50K horse because that event comprises all the games. I'm biased because, of course, I love playing horse, but it comprises all the games. The field is, this outstanding field, and obviously there has to be some good fortune involved. But to make the final table back to back is pretty strong. You've always played all the games, or do you have some particular insight into the horse tournaments and the adjustments you have to make for that type of tournament in particular, or what do you attribute your success to besides a couple of good hands?
Well, I think it's a combination. I've had some luck in a couple of hold'em hands. Not that I got all in with a bad hand or anything like that, but I mean, I guess I've been a little bit lucky in that. But last year I had a super amount of motivation. I missed most of the World Series last year because my dad was sick in the hospital with a heart
Right.
problem, and so I came back, and somehow I had it in my head that I wanted to get on ESPN to thank all the special people who helped him, like when he was in intensive care.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, they ended up cutting out that part of the interview.
Right.
But so I was super motivated, and I think
I'm going to cut this part out too.
Right, it's not going to make it a scoop show either. But
in poker, my biggest problem is coming to play every day and being focused. So that made me super focused last year.
I mean, those are, just interrupt on that, I mean, those are two different things because I understand coming to play every day because sometimes it's hard just to get going.
Yeah.
But once I'm at the table, I'm usually very focused. It's hard to imagine that you wouldn't be, just from knowing you and having played with you, that you're extremely focused when you're at the table. You're not distracted.
Sometimes I am, but I don't prepare well. I come late to almost every tournament. Even like the final tables, I'm known for coming late too. It's really bad. Even on the second or third day when I'm short stacked, I'm just I don't do that. Sometimes I come without eating, silly things like that.
Not by design, like Phil Hellmuth, who comes late.
No, usually
Another
it's not by design. Although I don't I hate waiting around to play, but I don't intentionally come by design for theater or anything like that. But I don't know. In the horse events, I think the horse events here, although last year I thought the structure down the end was really bad. I got to the final table with like a medium stack, and I lost one hand in Raz. I got unlucky in one hand, and I was basically out. I had like no chips. So I hope they fix that this year. I don't know, but
I think they have. Just as an aside, I was
really?
reading about the fact that they've adjusted all the limit structures, and they've made it so that there's less play at the beginning, but more play at the end.
yeah, I think they went overboard. Though I
And,
played a $10,000 stud yesterday, and it was really high limits. And the two first players, John Hennigan was the first player out at my table. He plays.
He's a terrible.
He's no good at this stuff. Yeah.
exactly. And I was the second one out. And I thought,
Yeah.
I consider stud to be a pretty strong game for me, and I was the second. That's my best game,
Right.
and I was the second one out. And there were two people. One person, I'm not going to say who it was, limped in under the gun with the 3-4-6 offsuit, which is like unheard of.
Right,
It's
if you
like-
catch a 5, you have a straight draw.
There you go. And another person called a raise. I won't even. It's a well-known pro, in fact, actually a full tilt pro. John Hennigan raised. He'd been raising a lot of hands, but he was always showing he had a lot of good hands.
Yeah.
And he called as the force bet with the 3-4-6 also. And the way the hand went, it's a guy who John is friends with. So he said, "Did you start with a 3-4-6?" And the guy said, "Yeah, but I was the bring-in."
Right.
Like as though that's a normal stud hand.
Even
so.
top pros apparently over-defend
And he
the bring-in.
But he defended the bring-in, or he brought it in for the completed.
No,
event?
Hennigan raised, and this guy called with the 3-4-6,
Oh,
thinking
right.
that was like a standard stud play.
Right.
So
And this is the $10,000 stud
yeah,
World
yeah.
Championship.
So it's for some reason
Yeah.
stud. I
This
see
wasn't a
people every year.
$24
Like,
nightly horse on
right.
Photo.
Well,
I'd
not
pay to play with the people who
Even
show up in the stud tournament.
even in the $50,000 horse, and I haven't played in that event, but I've played in the all the other horse the last 5 or 6 years, the World Series. You see excellent players who obviously are just not that good in certain games. Guys who are fantastic
Yeah, a lot
players.
of them. Myself, I'm
And-
not that
and-
good in limit hold'em. I really need
Right.
to work on my limit hold'em.
And I know guys who are phenomenal Hold'em Omaha players, and they just don't know how to play stud that well. And that I understand. But if you play a $10,000 stud only event,
Right.
it seems like you bring a little more preparation.
I saw two people yesterday in there's a VIP lounge, that some of us pay to get into just so we have a place to go on
Yeah.
the breaks. I saw two people in there reading. One was reading David Skolansky's stud book
Well, that's
on the break,
at least they're doing something.
and the other one was reading World Series of Poker Boot Camp primer and stud.
Yeah, see again.
And they paid $10,000 to get into it.
Right. See again in the horse, I can understand that maybe you want to brush up on a
Right,
game that you don't
right.
have much experience
Yeah.
in. But
This
if
is
you're
stud.
playing the 10,000
Yeah.
stud, that seems very
Yeah.
And then
very
the 10,000 stud in the horse, you could at least have the excuse that I always have online, which is I didn't realize we switched over from one of the stud games to the other, which it's at least 3 hands.
I actually
I'm
do
always,
that way too much.
I'm always playing the last game for
Yeah.
at least 3 hands, but in the $10,000 stud high, there's no other game. The 3-4, you can't say that I thought it was Raz.
right, which would make sense.
Right.
Although I have played, I once played for an hour on the internet playing high stud, thinking I was playing high-low stud. I've done that a few
How'd
times.
you do?
I didn't do that badly, actually.
I think everyone's had that experience where you think you're playing a different game, and I'm in there thinking it's high low, so I'm chasing with like just a nothing, and I make some small straight at the end and scoop a big pot, and then everyone's looking at me like what were you doing?
Yeah, I always
there?
wonder if they know, if they figure out what you were doing, because usually I don't say that. I want them to think
No,
I
it's
played
better,
like that.
yeah.
But about the structures, the risk is, of course, early on you take a few beats, you're out.
Right,
But
right.
they've inserted a bunch of levels, like instead of going from 1,000, 2,000 to 2,004, or to 1,500, 3,000, now there's a 1,200, 2,400 level.
Oh, that's good.
And then I think 1,600, 3,200, and then 2,004. So, I mean, they've put a whole bunch of new levels all the way up, like every, I think there are 3 or 4 additional levels in there when you get to the end. So, in the limit events, it'll pay off because the 50K, both years they've had it, it's definitely got very fast the second day. Early in the second day, people are just going out really
Yeah,
quickly,
yeah.
and that just doesn't seem right.
I think last year, even though with the structure they had, the final table was a lot softer than the first year, obviously, so I thought I had a really good chance. I liked my chances at the first year too, but it didn't work out for me. I
Well, the
was
first-
so tired, I really butchered a hand against Andy Block. But last year, one of the guys who made the final table, I don't think he played stud at all, Kenny Tran.
Right.
And I think guys like him being in the tournament, obviously he finished even higher than me, but I think there are a lot of people who play the flop games better than the stud games.
Right.
And for me, I feel like I'm very strong in the stud game, so
And the tournament is more
That's
stud
my
oriented.
advantage.
You
Yeah,
have
there
3
are
out of
3
5
levels,
games,
right.
and the
Although
games
Hold-
more
although
betting
Limit
rounds.
Hold'em
Extra
plays-
betting round.
Extra betting rounds.
Limit Hold'em plays bigger, though, I think, than any of those, but I think it plays to my advantage,
I saw a hand, in fact, that they televised between you and Kenny Tran. Is that, or am I just imagining that? Where I think it was a 3-way hand that he was in with a very odd hand.
And stud?
It was stud or stud 8.
I don't
I
remember.
thought, but if you don't
I'm really
remember,
bad at remembering, yeah.
You remember the hand against Andy Block that you were? Talking
Yeah,
about
I
the
remember
first
handing
year?
against Andy Block, I butchered. The first year,
There was no limit at the end.
yeah, which I liked. I would rather play no limit with the cast in the first year because 4 of them were from the 4,000. They play the highest game in
Right.
Bobby's room.
Like
I'm
Chip
not going to play
Reese
the mixed
and-
games as well as they do. Chip Reese, Phil Ivey, Doyle Brunson, and Dewey Tomko used to play
Yep.
that game. So the problem with that for me was, I can't make an excuse because Doyle Brunson was there with the same conditions as me, but the day before the final table, we played 19 hours.
Right.
And then they wanted us to come back quicker. And I was actually the only one who tried to get ESPN to do it a little later, and they did it an hour or 2 later. But between going home and getting to sleep and getting something
It's hard to
eat,
sleep because you're wired. From the
yeah, and
tournament,
being
yeah.
wired, I got like an hour of sleep.
Of course,
like
Doyle's in
19
his
hours.
70s, David.
Right, so
You're
he
a
can
young
get
man.
well. He can go to bed easily. No, I'm not using an excuse.
Yeah.
I'm really not using an excuse. But I'm just, like talking about what I personally went through. You know, everyone's affected
Right.
differently. Some days I might not be as tired as you. Some
Who
days
cares what that old man went through?
I was
We're
kind of in
talking
a
about you.
I was in and out of a daze. One hand against Andy Block, I just butchered and I was so tired. It took me like 3 hours afterwards to realize 3 hours after I was out to realize how badly I butchered. I called a raise from him. He was raising a lot of hands, and I just called a raise in the big blind with the Jack King. And normally, if someone is raising like that, I'm going to call over the top, find out where I am. Not always, but I mean a decent amount of the time. And then he raised, I think he had Ace Deuce, and Ace came on the flop. I think came Ace Jack, and I just called. And a Deuce came, and we put in a lot of money. It was just like a ridiculous hand the way I played it. And I don't know, maybe I'm
knocked out on
just
that
trying
hand?
to save my reputation, but I don't think I would play the hand anywhere as nearly as badly. I didn't get knocked out, but I lost a lot of chips. Early on, I doubled, not quite doubled up, but I got a lot of chips against Doyle Brunson when I had queens against his ace and a small card, and so I was second in chips at that point. And then I just dumped a lot of chips on the hand to Andy, and then I didn't get any chips. And every person that went all in didn't get knocked out, and then just things didn't go right for me after that. But I blew a lot of chips against Andy. Last year there was an interesting hand. I don't know if you want to hear a hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A stud. Wait, was it stud or stud high? Stud 8 or better. It was 8 or better stud, but
At the final table?
no, it wasn't the final table. But some people say I played the hand like a donkey, and I still remember the hand. So I don't know.
Let's
I
hear it.
want to get your opinion, both of you guys. It was stud 8 or better. It was folded. I was the brigand with a 9. So
Right.
chances are nobody, obviously, well, no one started with 3 low cards the way it went. It folded around to Eric Lindgren, who was, there was just Phil Ivey left to act, and Eric Lindgren was the next to last to act.
Okay.
Folded around to Eric Lindgren. There was a king out. He raised with a king, with split, with the, what turned out to be split kings. But he raised with a
Representing
king.
kings. Yeah.
Phil Ivey re-raised with a queen, and I played a decent amount with Phil. I wasn't giving Phil queens. And even if he was, I wasn't in that bad shape. I had split 9s with an ace.
Right.
So I thought, Eric, there's a good chance Eric's stealing, and if he's not stealing, he's got a dead card. He's not going to want to play for 3 bets.
I was going to say, I mean, this, even if it's stud 8, it's turned into a stud high hand.
Right,
At stud
right.
high, it's correct to play.
Right, but I was
Right.
thinking, and I was right, I was thinking Phil had 2 small cards and a queen.
Right.
And that's what he had. So I made it 3 bets with the split 9s with an ace, and Eric called with the dead kings, you know?
Right.
I think in that situation, maybe it might even be a questionable call that he made. But the hand went on, and Eric made 2 pairs. Eric ended up making a full house, and I made a bigger full house. But they were set like, I think Eric thought I played the hand like a donkey, but I thought I played it pretty well because I tried to get a heads up with Phil, who had queen like deuce 5 or something like that.
I mean, he can't say you're playing it like a donkey after third. He's saying you shouldn't have played it at all, I assume.
Yeah,
his
but in that situation, he's got a dead king. I'm not thinking. He may not even have kings. He's got the highest.
Yeah.
It's kind of a standard raise there.
And if he
with
does-
the king out to try and steal.
And the aces
And
are
if he
all
does-
are all alive.
Yeah, the
Aces
ace is
are all
alive.
alive.
So I wouldn't even mind playing my hands heads up.
Right.
You know, I'm almost even money with him to win the hand heads
Right.
up. And
Exactly.
there's a good chance he doesn't have
And
the
Phil's
kings
money's in
anyway.
there, too.
Yeah. So I like the way I played the hand, but some people were saying.
We're going to have to talk to Eric to get his side of the story.
Well, I know Eric thinks I played it like a donkey because I heard he was talking at another table about how badly I played, but
It's
I like
fun-
the way I played it.
It's funny in the sense that, and I know now you've accomplished in.
Wait, let me just say one more thing about it.
Yeah.
I checked when I realized I was behind in 5th. They both Eric had the high
Still
board,
look-
so he bet.
Yeah.
Eric checked to me. I think I was the one that bet 4th. Eric checked to me. Phil checked to me, and then on 5th I got a free card. So I mean, I still played it well as the
Right.
game went on. You know?
That's why I say his argument is just not, they shouldn't have played it because once the
Right.
hand played out, you didn't do anything crazy.
Right.
The what's interesting is, I mean, now you've been accomplished in all forms of poker, but I've always thought of you, primarily as a stud player, a guy who first made his name playing stud 8. So, and Eric made his name playing Hold'em.
Yeah,
primarily.
limit
So
Hold'em
limit
also,
Hold'em
yeah.
specifically, and then a lot of success in no limit in tournaments and such. So it's just kind of interesting because this is your specialty.
Yeah. And actually, down with two tables to go, we were playing, I think, 5-handed for a while, and I had Kenny Tran on my table, who really doesn't play the stud games. I think he would
Yeah.
admit to that, or maybe he does now.
Yeah.
And
don't
I
think
can't
he
remember
does.
who else I was playing with, and another guy.
Amnon
Who had-
Philippi was
yeah.
one of the guys who
Yeah.
went pretty deep. Who's a stud
I didn't
player.
mind playing. He's a stud player, but I played with him, and I didn't mind playing stud against him. He plays kind of a different style than, I didn't mind playing against him, and I had Barry Greenstein at my table, who's obviously a good stud player.
He knows the stud games fairly well.
But I thought it was to my advantage to play as many stud heads as I could, so I was playing.
Right.
You could fold slow or fold quicker, so I was playing as quickly as I could to play a lot of stud hands. Go through 3 stud rounds, and it backfired on me. Like I lost a lot of hands from behind, like with 2 tables to go, and then I went like medium to short stack at the final table. So,
So this year will be the charm.
This year will be the charm. Last year, actually, I got 6 both years, and last
Right.
year I made like, I don't know, $60,000 or $70,000 less, even though there were 4 more people in the tournament.
It was interesting how it had a whole different.
So I want my
structure.
60,000.
Guy wins like 3 major tournaments in the span of a week. He's still upset about that. Last year's
Right.
payout.
I'm still because you're flying a suit.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think. The bracelet was, compared to some of the other tournaments, wasn't that much money. It's 200, and I don't even know what I
Wow.
won. I didn't collect the
I'm
money.
Darren
heartbroken.
Worth.
I'm heartbroken for you.
No, I'm just saying it's strange. I'm not complaining about it. I'm saying it's strange in poker. I'm so excited to win a bracelet.
Right.
Yet we play a lot bigger tournaments.
Right.
And if you win a bigger tournament,
That's a great
maybe
thing
it
about
doesn't
that.
mean as much as winning the bracelet and
Yeah.
the 200 and something thousand.
We've got a lot more good stuff with David Singer that we're going to save for tomorrow's show. But
He's loquacious.
well, he's got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, and we want to use it all and let people see what's going on. But thanks for joining us today on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Write to us at thescoop@cardplayer.com, and join us for tomorrow's show, and we'll wrap things up with David Singer.
Two bracelets. Awesome.
Well, these aren't easy to win. I remember this one like it was yesterday. My opponent had me down to my left. Sorry. Anyway, it's down to my last few chips. So, I had to call.
We play at FullTiltPoker.com.